Okay, welcome to the Department of Theater and Dance website. My name is Tom Laughlin, professor of the Department of Theater and Dance, and with me are to your left Ariel Mombrea, who will be playing the title role in Electra, and Kyle Blount, who is playing the role of Orestes, her brother. Electra is a powerful Greek drama which tells the story of a young woman who is waiting for her brother to come home. When he does, they plot revenge on their mother, who killed their father Agamemnon by killing her and her current lover. So Electra, a play of revenge, death, and murder. And I'm sure that you're enjoying that, yes, both of you?
Oh, yes.
Great. So we know that Greek drama is pretty heavy and it's pretty intense. Kyle, why don't you start and give us a sense of what you think has been your biggest challenge in trying to face this kind of Greek tragedy?
Well, a big challenge for me is that I talk very fast on average. So trying to get through a lot of the text, which is very important and very, not necessarily difficult to understand, but not as clear as modern speech. So I have to really gotta slow down when I'm talking. And also, it's difficult to balance the amount of emotions he goes through all at once. Example, when he actually meets his sister again for the first time in years, he doesn't recognize her. And when he does, it's a mix of excitement to see his sister after so long, horror and terror at, oh my God, she's in such a terrible state. Nervous because I wasn't supposed to run into you yet. This was supposed to happen later. He's trying to figure out everything he's going through all at once, while still being the strong warrior.
Yeah, okay. That's enough of a challenge. Ariel, what about you?
The biggest challenge for me has definitely been the fact that I'm on stage the entire show, and while I'm on stage the entire show, I have several long monologues about how upset I am and about how much I want to exact revenge upon my mother and about how I'm waiting for Orestes. And for me, the challenge is keeping that interesting and making it so the audience actually has sympathy for the character rather than just being like, all right, shut up, we get it, you're upset. And within that, again, there's a range of emotion that is really hard to maintain for an hour and 20 minutes. It's a pretty short show as far as shows go, but for an hour and 20 minutes to be just constantly upset and wailing and lamenting, finding the levels of, okay, I'm this amount of upset now, and here I can really let go, but just keeping it interesting for the audience.
Tell us something about the style of the show. We know that it's a Greek tragedy, and you'll be speaking English. The translation is by the Irish playwright Frank McGuinness, but certain kinds of stylistic and thematic elements have been added. Can you tell me something about that?
Yeah, one of the words that's been thrown around a lot is steampunk. So there's a lot of industrial-looking inspired set pieces and costume pieces, and we've kept the basic feel of a traditional Greek tragedy. We have the basic burlap sort of looking costumes, and then added on top of that we have modern pieces that sort of look like they're disintegrating. We have a lot of metal, we have a lot of chains, there's a fountain, there's some cool pipe work that has water running through it. So we've sort of meshed the two concepts together.
And Kyle, tell us something about the sort of gestural research that's going into the play. I understand that you've done a lot of study with certain specific types of gestures. The play opens with a sort of an ensemble where most of the things that's happening are physical gesturing. Can you tell us what that's all about?
So each of the 12 players came up with a movement or a gesture for each word. We brought them together, and then we have 72 different gestures, and this has become a new vocabulary for us. So while we're not speaking, or even when we are speaking, or we're in prayer, we have these motions that we can use to help further emphasize what we're trying to say. It's a very interesting idea, and especially bringing us out at the beginning and introducing this vocabulary, and then you'll see it later throughout the show. When I pray in the first scene, I use some of the gestures. When Electra's, you're often gesturing. The chorus uses it quite frequently as background. So while Electra's up there wailing, the chorus will have betrayal going on.
Tell me, in your research, and I'm assuming you did a lot of research about Greek mythology, stories of the Trojan War, because a lot of this has the Trojan War as a background. What did you find most interesting about doing that kind of research, digging into the Greek civilization and digging into these ancient stories?
For me, it was the gods.
Yeah.
It was the fact that the gods are just as human as the humans are, while they're immortal, which is basically the only difference. They're always fighting, and none of them really know what they want, and the gods are subject to being wrong, which I think is fascinating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's actually an interesting point, because to think that gods can be just as fallible as you really puts another spin on the question of uncertainty in this world, isn't it?
We were actually just talking in Greek and Roman literature about Orestes' character and what do you do when the gods tell you to do something that's wrong? Because it's punishable if you don't, but if you don't agree with what you're being told.
Yeah, interesting question. What speaks to you that you think will speak to the audience and that has spoken to people across the centuries?
I think it's an interesting view on justice.
Justice.
Because for me, just watching how Ariel plays Electra and Danny Pelcher plays Clytemnestra, the mother, it's interesting because part of me wants debates who's right. Clytemnestra's excuse for killing Agamemnon is that he killed their daughter, her first daughter, and then murder must be repaid with murder. Which is Electra then, you killed my father, now you need to die. So it's who's really in the right, and it makes me think a lot, actually.
Yeah, that's very similar to my answer, which is that there's no clear-cut right or wrong. Electra's the protagonist, she's the main character. But in any of the characters' shoes, what would you do? You'd have to follow what you believe to be the correct course of action. And all of the characters are justifiable to a certain extent in what they want the end of the play to be. And I think that's fascinating because normally there's the good guy and the bad guy, and you clearly root for one character and you clearly want another character to fail, but there's no clear-cut right and wrong in Electra. And the main character is just as much at fault as anybody else because she's bloodthirsty and vengeful, and she's been obsessing, and she's certainly not a pure angel that just wants the right thing done. She certainly is serving herself.
Kyle, you know the information about when this play is going to be about. You seem to be able to rattle it off, so why don't you rattle it off for people? When is it opening? How long is it going to play? What's the deal here?
Electra opens this weekend, which starts Friday the 19th. We run Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, the 19th through the 21st. This Friday, there will be a pre-show discussion at 7 with the assistant directors, Eliza Mensch and Jordan Rizziari, at 7 in the Student Commons. Saturday and Sunday, the show start at 8. Friday and Saturday, the show start at 8. Sunday show starts at 2. And then next weekend, we run Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, the 25th, the 26th, and the 27th, all shows starting at 8 p.m. And the pre-show discussion will be Thursday and Friday that week at 7 in the Student Commons.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, Electra running at the Department of Theater and Dance here at SUNY Fredonia. We hope you'll come join us. Thanks a lot for listening.